Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when we are shaken awake, moments that remind us not everything we take for granted will last forever. Today, I must speak about such a moment, not a rumor, not a story, but a warning, a devotion that has inspired millions, comforted the broken, guided the lost, is now facing the threat of silence. Shi Heng Yi warns, this Marian devotion may be stopped forever. And so we must listen, we must act, because the message given for 2025 is urgent. It is not meant to frighten us, but to awaken us, to shake us, so we do not sleep through the truth. Awareness before it is too late. These words may sound simple, but they hold the weight of an entire lifetime. The truth is, we rarely value awareness until the moment something is about to be taken away from us. Only when the silence comes, only when the light begins to fade, do we suddenly realize how much we have depended on it. This is the nature of human beings. We forget what is precious until it is almost gone. And so the call to awareness is not a gentle suggestion. It is a cry of urgency. Because when it is too late, no amount of regret can restore what has been lost. Awareness means to be fully present, to recognize what is happening around us and within us. It is more than simply noticing. It is a deeper recognition of value. In the case of faith, in the case of devotion, awareness means not treating it as something ordinary. Many of us carry devotions, rituals, and traditions that have been passed down for generations. They are part of our identity, part of our spiritual life. And yet, when something is repeated often, when it becomes routine, we stop feeling its weight. We practice it out of habit rather than out of awareness. The danger in this is subtle but real, because the moment we treat the sacred as ordinary, we open the door for it to be taken from us without resistance. Think about water. Every day we open the tap and drink, wash, cook. Rarely do we pause to appreciate that clean water is a gift not available to everyone. And then, when a drought comes, when the tap runs dry, the first sip of water suddenly tastes like heaven. What changed? Not the water itself. What changed is our awareness of its value. The same is true for devotion, for faith, for the spiritual practices that connect us to something greater than ourselves. When the message warns that Marian devotion may be stopped, it is not only a statement about external forces. It is also a mirror for us to examine whether we have been aware of its value all along, or whether we have been asleep, assuming it will always be there. Awareness also requires courage. It is easier to live in distraction. It is easier to keep moving, scrolling, consuming, without looking too deeply at what is happening to our faith, to our society, to our world. But ease comes with a price. By ignoring the signs, we allow forces of neglect, doubt, and suppression to grow stronger. One day, when we finally turn around, we realize the flame of devotion has been dimmed, not by sudden force, but by years of inattention. The message then is simple: wake up before the light is gone. Shi Heng Yi often speaks of storms and challenges as opportunities. In this sense, the threat of losing something sacred can also serve as a teacher. It can shock us into awareness. It can force us to stop living mechanically and to start living consciously. The question is not whether the devotion will be stopped. The question is whether we, as individuals, will remain aware enough to guard it, nurture it, carry it forward. Awareness is the first shield. Awareness is the first act of protection. But awareness is not only about defense. It is also about gratitude. To be aware of something valuable is to treat it with reverence each day, not only when it is threatened. If we become truly aware of our devotion, we will no longer approach it as a ritual to be checked off. We will approach it with living faith, with the heart fully engaged. In that awareness, even the simplest prayer becomes powerful. Even the smallest act of devotion carries light. Therefore, awareness before it is too late is not a warning to scare us. It is an invitation to live awake, to stop waiting for loss to teach us value, to start now with eyes open, heart awake, and spirit alert. Because the truth is, the time for awareness is always now. Not tomorrow, not when danger is at the door, but today. This very moment is the chance to open our eyes and see clearly. And once we see, we can never be the same. Discipline protects devotion. These words point to a time of truth that crosses boundaries of culture, faith, and philosophy. Without discipline, devotion becomes fragile, easily broken by distraction, temptation, or neglect. But with discipline, devotion grows strong, steady, and unshakable. It is discipline that gives devotion its roots and ensures it can withstand storms. Many people believe devotion is simply about emotion, about feeling inspired, touched, or uplifted. And while emotion may ignite devotion, it cannot sustain it. Emotions are like sparks, they burn bright for a moment, but they fade quickly if not fed by fuel. Discipline is that fuel. Discipline means showing up even when the spark is not there. It means praying even when you don't feel like it, meditating even when the mind is restless, practicing even when life is heavy. This kind of consistency creates strength. Over time, devotion stops depending on fleeting emotions and becomes a steady fire that warms the heart in every season. Consider a garden. You may feel inspired one day to plant seeds, water them, and admire their growth. But if you abandon the garden after that single burst of motivation, weeds will overtake it, and the plants will wither. The beauty of the garden is not preserved by inspiration alone, but by daily care, watering, weeding, protecting. Devotion is the same. The discipline to return again and again, even when it feels repetitive or hard, is what keeps devotion alive. Without this care, even the most beautiful faith tradition can wither in silence. Discipline also provides protection against distraction. We live in a world where our attention is constantly under attack. Screens, noise, endless activity all pull us away from silence, reflection, and prayer. Devotion cannot survive in a restless mind without discipline. Discipline is the act of saying no to distraction so that we can say yes to what is sacred. It is choosing to turn off the noise for a few minutes each day and enter the stillness where faith is nourished. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Without discipline, devotion will always be postponed, always secondary, until eventually it is forgotten altogether. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about structure as a form of freedom. In the same way, discipline is not meant to feel like a cage. It is meant to set us free. When we are disciplined in devotion, we no longer depend on chance or mood. We create a rhythm that carries us even when life feels chaotic. Just as the body finds strength in daily training, the spirit finds resilience in daily devotion. And that resilience is what protects us when trials come. Think of discipline as a shield. It shields devotion from doubt, from fear, from the laziness of the human heart. When challenges appear, the undisciplined spirit easily falls, saying, "I don't have the strength," but the disciplined spirit has already been trained. It has been built up day by day like a muscle, and it can endure. This is why discipline is not just about routine, it is about preparation. Every time you practice your devotion with discipline, you are preparing yourself for the moments when faith will be tested. Discipline also transforms devotion into witness. Others may see your steadiness and be inspired by it. In a time when devotion may be threatened, when voices may try to silence it, discipline becomes a testimony. By remaining consistent, you show the world that it is not fragile but strong, not temporary but eternal. This quiet Steady witness may awaken others to return to their own practices, creating a ripple effect that spreads far beyond your personal life. At the heart of it all, discipline is an act of love. We remain disciplined in what we truly value. If you love someone, you show up for them not only when it is easy, but also when it is hard. The same is true for devotion. Discipline proves love. It says, I will not abandon this, no matter how I feel today, no matter what the world says tomorrow. That steadfastness protects devotion more powerfully than anything else. In the end, discipline and devotion are not two separate paths. They are one. Devotion without discipline fades, and discipline without devotion becomes empty. But together, they create a balance that endures through all seasons of life. Discipline protects devotion, and devotion gives discipline its meaning. This union is what ensures that the sacred will not be stopped no matter what storms come. Silence is the enemy of truth. At first, this may sound strange because silence is often praised as something peaceful, something healing. And yes, there are moments when silence is necessary, when it allows us to go inward, to reflect, to listen. But there is another kind of silence that is not peace, but fear. It is the silence that comes when truth should be spoken, but words are withheld. It is the silence that appears when injustice rises, when faith is threatened, when devotion is mocked, and yet the lips remain closed. That silence does not heal, it harms. That silence is not strength, it is surrender. Truth has always demanded a voice, from prophets to saints, from teachers to reformers. The message has never spread through silence. It has spread because someone was willing to speak, even when their voice trembled, even when they faced resistance. The moment we allow devotion to be attacked without response, the moment we accept suppression without question, we are not protecting peace. We are feeding the enemy of truth. Silence in such times is not neutral. It becomes an active force that allows darkness to grow. When Shi Heng Yi speaks about awareness and discipline, they are always tied to expression. Awareness without expression leads to stagnation. Discipline without expression leads to rigidity. But when awareness and discipline give birth to speech, to the act of sharing truth, then growth happens. Silence, in contrast, prevents growth. It cuts off communication, it hides what is valuable, and it allows lies to take center stage. Consider a fire. If a fire burns in the night and no one warns the village, the silence of the witness is as dangerous as the flames themselves. People may continue sleeping unaware of the danger until it is too late. In the same way, if we see faith being threatened, if we hear devotion being dismissed, and yet we remain silent, we allow the spiritual fire of entire communities to be consumed. Speaking the truth is not only a right, it is a responsibility. Some may say, but what if my voice is small? What if no one listens? This is where courage is tested. Even a whisper carries power when it carries truth. And often, one voice breaks the silence for others. Just as a single candle can light hundreds more without losing its own flame, one person's courage to speak truth can ignite the courage of many. Silence isolates, but speech unites. Once the truth is spoken, others recognize it, resonate with it, and find the strength to join. Silence also weakens the speaker. Each time we swallow the truth out of fear, we train ourselves to suppress what is alive within us. Over time, this creates inner conflict. The heart knows what is right, but the tongue refuses to say it. This tension breeds frustration, anxiety, and guilt. On the other hand, when we speak the truth, we align the heart and the tongue, the inner conviction and the outer action. That alignment creates strength, confidence, and integrity. There is also a spiritual dimension. Many traditions teach that truth is not merely words, it is light. To remain silent when truth calls to be spoken is to hide light under a covering, to let darkness dominate. Light does not argue with darkness, it simply shines. In the same way, truth does not need to fight violently. It only needs to be spoken clearly, without fear, without compromise. History shows us the danger of silence. Entire nations have suffered because good people remained quiet while destructive forces gained power. Devotions have been erased, cultures suppressed, and traditions forgotten because silence gave permission. Yet history also shows us the power of truth spoken aloud, even under threat, even in chains. Voices that refused silence kept faith alive. Those voices became seeds, and their fruits are still with us. To therefore, silence in the face of devotion being stopped is not an option. If we are to protect what is sacred, we must speak, not with anger that divides, but with clarity that awakens. Not with noise that confuses, but with truth that guides. Our voice must not be absent, because absence becomes accepted. The enemy of truth is not only lies, it is also the silence of those who know the truth but do nothing. Faith must be practiced, not just spoken. These words strike at the very heart of devotion, because too often faith is reduced to something that lives only on the lips. People speak about what they believe, they declare it openly, they recite prayers, they affirm values. But if those words are not lived, if they are not embodied in daily action, then faith becomes hollow. Words may inspire for a moment, but only action gives faith its real weight. A seed may be admired for its potential, but unless it is planted and watered, it will never bear fruit. The danger of speaking without practicing is subtle. It allows us to feel comfortable, as though the words themselves are enough. We convince ourselves that because we say we believe, because we say we are devoted, we have fulfilled our duty. Yet when difficulties come, when devotion is threatened, words without practice crumble instantly. Only practiced faith has the strength to endure. Practiced faith is like a muscle built through training, becomes strong through repetition, through effort, through consistency. Spoken faith without practice is like a muscle never used, weak, untested, unable to carry weight. To practice faith means to let it shape every part of life, not only the moments of prayer or ritual. It means that faith influences the way we speak to others, the way we treat strangers, the way we respond to challenges. If we proclaim devotion to Mary, but our lives remain careless, distracted, and without compassion, then our devotion has not taken root. Real faith must show itself in patience, in kindness, in discipline, in resilience. These qualities are not born from empty speech, they are born from practice. Think about martial training, something Shi Heng Yi often points to. A student may memorize all the names of techniques, may speak fluently about philosophy, but without daily practice, the body will not respond when challenged. The true student is not the one who talks most about training, but the one whose movements, discipline, and posture reveal years of dedication. In the same way, true devotion is not measured by the words we recite, but by the way our lives reflect the presence of faith. There is also a deeper reason why faith must be practiced. When we live faith through action, it moves from the surface of the mind into the depth of the heart. Speaking is external, but practice internalizes. A person who says, "I forgive," may or may not truly forgive, but the person who chooses again and again to release bitterness, to act with mercy even when it is hard, that person has practiced faith until forgiveness becomes part of their being. Practice turns ideals into reality. When faith is only spoken, it is easily silenced. The moment opposition comes, the moment devotion is ridiculed or suppressed, words fall away. But when faith is practiced, it cannot be silenced. No law, no ridicule, No external force can erase what has been written into the way you live. If prayer has become a rhythm of your breath, if compassion has become the reflex of your heart, if devotion has become the center of your choices, then even if you are forbidden to speak, your life will still proclaim faith. Practice makes faith unshakable. This also protects the next generation. Children and young people do not learn faith from speeches alone. They learn it from watching how faith is lived. They notice whether prayer is truly important or just a routine. They see whether devotion changes the way we live, whether it is confined to certain hours. If they witness faith as a living practice, they will carry it. If they only hear empty words, they will not see the value in holding on when devotion is threatened. Practicing faith also builds integrity. Integrity means that what we say and what we do are one. When words and actions match, there is power. When they do not, there is weakness. A person who speaks of faith but acts in contradiction is divided, and that division weakens both the person and the message. But a person whose life is aligned with their speech becomes a beacon. Their very presence radiates truth. In the end, faith is not meant to be a theory. It is meant to be lived. To speak of love without practicing it is emptiness. To speak of devotion without practicing it is hypocrisy. To speak of prayer without practicing it is noise. But when faith is practiced, even the smallest actions become powerful. A moment of silence, a word of kindness, a gesture of forgiveness, these become living prayers more powerful than any spoken formula. Faith must be practiced, not just spoken. This is the call and this is the challenge, to move beyond words into action, to embody devotion in the way we live so that even if speech is silenced, the testimony of our lives continues. For in the end, it is not what we say about our faith that protects it, but how we live it every day. Urgency calls for inner transformation. This statement carries with it both warning and invitation. Warning because time is never guaranteed, and the messages we receive for our spiritual lives are not given to us so that we can ignore them. Invitation because urgency does not simply demand panic or reaction, it demands change. Not on the surface, not in appearance, but deep within, the kind of transformation that reshapes how we see, how we act, how we live. When something urgent approaches, we do not have the luxury of delay. We must now, and the most important action is not external. It begins in the heart. The world teaches us to react to urgency with haste. If something is about to be lost, people rush, grasp, cling. But Shi Heng Yi would remind us that external rushing without inner change only repeats the same cycle of loss. True urgency is not about running faster, it is about waking up. If we feel that a devotion is in danger or that a message warns us of a closing window of grace, then the response cannot be shallow. It cannot be limited to temporary emotion or dramatic declarations. It must be the commitment to inner transformation so that even if the outer form is challenged, the essence remains alive within us. Transformation means letting go of old patterns. Many people carry faith as tradition, but not as a lived reality. They recite prayers without awareness, they attend rituals without depth. They claim devotion but do not allow it to guide their daily choices. This lack of transformation leaves faith fragile. When urgency strikes, when devotion is threatened, these superficial habits collapse. But if urgency awakens us to transform within, then faith becomes strong, independent of circumstances. No one can stop what has been planted deeply in the heart. Consider a tree. A storm may break its branches, strip its leaves, even scar its trunk. But if its roots run deep, the tree survives, and in time it grows again. Inner transformation is like rooting devotion deep into the soul. Without roots, the storm of 2025 or any other challenge can uproot everything. With roots, the devotion endures even if appearances change. Urgency is the storm's announcement, and transformation is the rooting that ensures survival. Inner transformation also means clarity. Urgency reveals what truly matters. When time is short, distractions lose their power. Imagine being told you only have 1 hour left with someone you love. Suddenly, trivial concerns vanish and only the essential remains. In the same way, urgency strips away illusions and forces us to ask what is truly valuable, what is worth protecting, what deserves my energy, my discipline, my awareness. Transformation happens when we reorder our lives around what is essential instead of scattering ourselves on what is meaningless. Urgency is also a mirror. It shows us the difference between intention and reality. Many intend to live faithfully, to deepen devotion, to grow spiritually someday. But someday is always postponed. Urgency breaks that illusion. It says not someday, but now. Not when life is easier, not when the schedule clears, not when the mood feels right. Now, transformation requires immediate steps, even small ones. A single moment of true prayer, a single act of sacrifice, a single change of habit can open the door to deeper change. Urgency gives us the courage to stop delaying and to begin living differently today. But inner transformation is not fear-driven. If we act only from fear of losing something, the change will not last. Real transformation is rooted in love. Urgency simply removes excuses and distractions so that love can act. We do not transform because we are terrified. We transform because we see clearly that the time to live fully is now, not later. Fear may awaken us, but love sustains us. In this sense, the urgent message of 2025 is not only about danger, it is about opportunity. It is the chance to break free from sleep, to live awake, to embody devotion in a way that cannot be stopped. Even if voices fall silent, even if practices are suppressed, transformation ensures that faith lives within us, unshakable and radiant. Urgency calls for inner transformation because nothing else will last. External protection, external rituals, external appearances, they can all be stripped away. But what has been transformed within cannot be taken. It remains, it grows, it shines. And when enough individuals are transformed, communities change, and the world itself is lifted. Urgency, then, is not only a warning, it is the door to a new way of living. To walk through that door requires courage, discipline, and devotion. And above all, it requires the willingness to be transformed from within before it is too late. Ladies and gentlemen, we have walked together through 5 truths: awareness, discipline, the courage to break silencer, the call to practice, and the urgency to transform within. These are not just ideas, they are choices. Choices each of us must make, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. The message is clear: devotion that is not protected will fade. Faith that is not lived will die. But a heart awake, a spirit disciplined, a voice unafraid, and a life transformed, these cannot be stopped. So let us not wait for the world to shake us. Let us awaken ourselves, because the future of this devotion does not depend only on institutions or authorities. It depends on us. If we live the message now, then even if the world tries to silence it, Mary's light will never be extinguished, not in 2025. Not ever. The time is now. The choice is yours. Awaken before it is too late.